If you recall, not too long ago, Atari released like this trailer showing off their new gaming console. Ooh, look at the marketing. There was a lot of speculation that it might be a serious contender versus the Xbox One X, PlayStation 4 Pro, PlayStation Scorpio, whatever the fuck, you know. That was the original thought most people had and speculation all over the internet. But from the looks of this thing, and the specs, like the console is going to come with an SD card slot. So right there, you know it's not going to be burning up the world. We're going to be lucky if this thing is like Switch level. HDMI ports, 4 USB ports. The image shown an Ethernet port, by the way. It comes in black with the red lighting. There's also a headphone jack that comes with it. And they also have the wood grain version for those of you who really want that retro look. And honestly, when you look at this system, it doesn't seem to have any ventilation for any sort of dedicated graphics, obviously. It's definitely got to be an APU, but it can't be too hardcore if there's like no real opening to let the heat out. They also released a statement to go along with this. Our objective is to create a new product that stays true to our heritage while appealing to both old and new fans of Atari. Old fans of Atari, dude, come on. I don't care how much nostalgia glasses you have, there's no way you could look at Space Invaders or Custard's Last Stand and go, man, I gotta play that again. Inspired by the classic Atari design elements, such as the iconic use of wood grain, ribbed lines, and a raised back, we are creating a smooth design with ribs that flow seamlessly all around the body of the product, a front panel that can be either wood or glass, a front-facing logo indicator light that glows through the material, and an array of new ports, HDMI and 4 USB, with an SD card. We intend to release 2 editions, the wood edition and the black and red edition. As you can guess, those ports suggest modern internal specs. It also means that while we will be delivering classic gaming content, we will also be delivering current gen content. So from the looks of this thing, I'd bet money it's probably going to be playing, you know, like Shovel Knight and shit like that. Great game, but it's not exactly like Battlefront 2 quality graphics. I'm not saying graphics are everything, but let's just keep it in perspective here. This thing is going to be probably on that level. Maybe it'll compete with a Switch as far as terms of power. We know you are hungry for more details on specs, games, and features, pricing, and timing, etc. We are not teasing you intentionally. We want to get this right. We've also opted to share things step by step as we bring the Atari box to life, and to listen closely to Atari community feedback as we do so. Who's really an Atari fan anymore? Like, for real. Like, seriously, there's nothing. There's nothing Atari has that you're like clamoring for anymore. I've never heard anybody come into a gaming store and go, my god, I miss Pong on Atari. Never. I could read more into this, but let's face it, it's the usual sort of press release crap where they talk vaguely about the console in hopes of getting you interested. And surprisingly, it's kind of working. I've seen people sit there and go, I might buy it for the wood grain alone. And frankly, if you really want something with wood grain that badly, I don't know, buy some vinyl with a goddamn wood grain print on it and then put it all over your goddamn Xbox One or something before you go pissing away money on the next Ouya. While digging deeper, I noticed that it appears the Atari Box will be setting up a crowdfunding campaign. Right there is a red flag for me. Like, the last time I saw a crowdfunded console, it was the Ouya. And we all know what happened to the Ouya. It fucking just vanished into nothingness, into the fucking ether. Anyway, if recent reports from Eurogamer is to believe to be true, it sounds like we have to fork over money early on this new console. According to the reports, Atari published the following note to its French investors regarding the Atari box, and I quote, "To limit risk-taking, this product will initially be launched with the framework of a crowdfunding campaign," end quote. Predictably, fans have reacted to this news rather poorly. The sentiment is that Atari pulled the old bait and switch, getting us excited about a prospective new console, drumming it up with a bunch of hype, and then asking for our money first before the console's actually even produced. For me personally, I don't hold out any hope because, let's face it, Atari's been out of the game a long time. Atari isn't exactly a powerful brand anymore. It's just a name. It's a nostalgia name. Kind of like Sonic. When you think of Sonic, you think of all the good times you had with Sonic. But if you see all the games made by Sega, you remember how shit Sega is now. But there is a fan-made Sonic game that was also backed by Sega that actually brings Sonic back to his former glory. But look how long it fucking took. Look how many bad games it took. I don't think Atari has any IP that I can remember off the top of my head. Fuck, I can't remember anything. Every time I think Atari, all I think is Space Invaders, Pong, and General Custer's Last Stand, where the object of the game is to avoid arrows to rape an Indian woman. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. No, I don't think Atari made it, but back then anyone could make a game for the Atari, and that was probably one of their most popular games. I don't see this doing anything great. I don't see it burning up the world. I see it coming out and most likely doing so kind of blah. You know, when something comes out where it's not complete and utter bullshit, but it's not great either, so you're kind of like, yeah, it exists, but so what? Kind of like the Wii U. You're like, yeah, it's a thing, but who gives a shit except for a hardcore fan? And Atari, unfortunately, does not have that installer base, or installment base, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Anyway, you've heard me talk about this numerous times before in the past. It was the CPU I was waiting for, and that was the Coffee Lake line. The Coffee Lake line was going to make the 6-core mainstream, and this is what a lot of Intel fans were waiting for, until Ryzen came out and shook everything the fuck up, and now I kind of don't care too much about Coffee Lake. It's like a little too late, but it's still coming. Intel prepares their i7-8700K to better fight AMD's Ryzen. This will be their 6-core CPU. Why don't they just fucking make it an 8, you know? Like at this point, you may as well make the i7 a fucking 8-core. You know, just fucking do it. If I was on the board meeting, if I worked for Intel, I'd look at them and go, alright, Ryzen is, and Threadripper, and then somebody goes, we still got Coffee Lake, sir. The flagship i7-8700K, it's gonna be a 6-core. And I'd go, fire him. Make it a fucking 8. Do something. Our pants are around our ankles, for God's sakes. We can only fly off of fucking sheer supremacy with marketing and money for so long before the people wake the fuck up. Don't let the drones wake up! And that would be me if I was the CEO. I'm ready, Intel. You just heard me. I'm ready. Hire me, dude. I will run on stage and punch Roger Kaduri in the fucking face and then scream Intel supremacy. You see the dirty tricks Intel is up to. He punched Roger Kaduri in the face. I'd probably get fired if I did that. I'd have to pay someone to punch Roger Kaduri. Intel is reportedly working on their flagship Core i7-8700K processor, which will be a 6-core, 12-thread at 3.7 GHz base. And I'm sure the boost will go past 4.5, maybe. Yeah, maybe they'll do 4. It's got to do 4.5. The boost has got to be 4.5. And it will have a lower TDP of 95 watts, which is a fuck ton better than the i9-7800, which we all know is 145 fucking watts. It would begin chomping at the heels of the i9-8700 very quickly, which is probably why Intel isn't launching the 8700 until next year, to give the i9-7800X some more breathing room. We're also expecting a non-K variant of this to be a i7-8700, which will reportedly roll out with the 3.2 GHz base clock. There will also be a Core i5 model, which I've talked about before, with up to 6 cores, but the kicker there is it'll be a 6-core, 6-thread CPU, which I think is kind of lame. But whatever, fuck it. Still better than like a 2-core, still better than the 4-core, 4-thread, I guess, you know? It'll be at 3.6 GHz with the same TDP of 95 watts as the higher end 8700K, but it will lack hyperthreading, obviously, so it's just a 6-core, 6-thread chip compared to the 8700, which is a 6-core, 12-thread chip. There will be other Core i5 models with 6 cores, including the purported Core i5-8400, with a base clock at 2.8 GHz, a power draw of 65 watts. These Coffee Lake CPUs are most likely going to be aimed at battling AMD's valued Ryzen 5 chips. I will say at least this CPU market is being less shit. Intel is still pulling the wrong moves in my opinion. Also, I did see a report recently that Intel was now hiring new people to help them work on a new CPU. I forgot what the fuck it was called, new structure, infrastructure, some shit like that. I can't remember. I can't find it either. So now Intel's actually awake. Good for them. I mean, it only took them forever of resting on their fucking laurels that they never expected AMD to come back and take a real chomp out of the fuckers. Intel could be in trouble if these parts come out around the same time as Zen 2. But from what I'm understanding, it'll be, the Coffee Lake will be out early 2018. I don't know when Zen 2 is hitting. And while these will be out, Zen 2 will most likely come. I'm just saying, it probably won't be out when these drop. And Zen 2 will be a 7nm design last I recall, and Intel's still fucking around the 14nm. I guess the other thing I forgot to think about is, will they make a new socket for this 8700K? Because if they do, that would suck a lot of dick. I would not see people too eager to grab this. I didn't even think of that. A new socket would mean new mobos, so more bullshit you have to buy, just raising the price even more so. Someone on WCCF Tech also posted something interesting. I think his name is Pathos Perks. Observation from the community. One that isn't trolling, you know? He wrote, you can start to see the limitation of Intel's 14nm process, the same ones that kind of plague AMD's slightly inferior version. At some point, the cross-section of clock speed potential and transistor count just doesn't mesh with the intended power envelopes. AMD opted for conserving power / using high density and wider design. With lower clock speed potential, here's where we see Intel backtracking, with the core certainly intended for higher clock speeds. This is interesting, particularly in the goals and insights we have concerning each company's next process. While IBM has started their goal of the 5 GHz design with the 7nm, which meshes with the news out of GF that 40% clock speed uplift has been possible with the test chips. The news leaked out that Intel has been that the 10nm, which if you're keeping track, is more or less similar to everyone else's 7nm design. It has a great problem scaling clock speeds. That, my friends, is what we call irony. The AIO, Intel's grand scheme, the hell-bent intentions of lowering power and increasing density beyond the competition for what was expected to become an ever-increasing mobile world, has come back to bite them in the ass. While the slow and steady underdog, perhaps with a little bit of planning, foresight, and taking an early jab, given the first iteration of the design, lower IPC, clock speeds, too many cores, may gain ground with the classic rope-a-dope, which is boxing technique. Now, this is some great news. If it's true, this is awesome. In my personal opinion, this actually has me like, wow. AMD's Ryzen Threadripper CPUs will reportedly launch with bundled liquid cooling solutions. It will launch with an AIO. That is awesome, because a Threadripper chip is fucking huge. It's the size of a fucking credit card. I don't give a shit, as long as they give you a good cooling solution. Anyway, while AMD's TR4 Ryzen Threadripper platform will offer a lot of pure CPU performance for the money, the platform itself will have its shortcomings. The most obvious of these issues with the X399 SP3R2 socket, which is not supported by the vast majority of today's CPU coolers, which will make it difficult for Threadripper users to cool their CPUs at launch. This will change as the newer CPU coolers hit the market, though it will likely be one of the platform's biggest issues at launch. Reports from Hermitag Akivara, I don't know, it's Asian, racist, have stated that Threadripper will launch on August 10th in Japan and release with a bundled AIO cooler, providing users with ample cooling when the platform launches. This cooling solution should be more than adequate to handle AMD's latest CPUs at their socket settings, though it is unknown how they will handle this huge 16-core overclock. If Threadripper releases at AMD's previously announced $799 and $999 price points for their 16-core and 12-core models, free cooler bundles will add a lot of value to AMD's newest platform, as Intel does not ship a cooling solution with the X299 platform. They tell you to suck a fucking dick. AMD will be announcing more information on their new Threadripper CPUs in the coming weeks, so expect to hear more about the X399 platform. And right there, once again, is fucking value for your money. This is something I screamed for a while. with the latest iteration of Intel chips all launching without fucking coolers, the least they could do is give you a fucking cooler, dude. An Air one at the least, and I'm talking about like the i7s, you know. And now you get these like expensive $2,000 CPUs and shit, these $1,000 CPUs. These CPUs, they cost as much as a fucking used motorcycle off Craigslist, and the cocksuckers can't give you a goddamn cooling solution. I always sat there and wondered, would it kill them to put a 120mm fucking rad in there to cool your fucking $1,500 CPU? Ah, no, we can't give you that. No, you gotta go buy some shit. I'm not saying it's shit, but it sucks dick. And I admit, most people who are buying these premium CPUs, even the high-end i7s, have usually water cooling solutions. But with a new platform, the least they could do is something like this. The least they could do, if, like, you're paying $1,000 or more for a CPU, I feel an AIO should be added in there to give you the ability to just get your fucking rig up and running until you have money later to invest in a better cooling solution. Like, fuck, this is awesome. It's even more of a reason to buy Threadripper. I would really like to have a Threadripper. I'd like the 16 core, but I can't afford that. I can't afford the 12 core either. I'm more inclined to try and get a 12 core, but I just don't have that kind of money. Maybe a GoFundMe page is in order. Pay for Gundam's new rendering rig. People will tell me to go eat a dick. Fuck him. I'm not paying for this shit. He's garbage. That's it for me. I think this is long enough. You know the whole spiel. I can actually give more of a fuck than me. Rate, comment, subscribe if you so choose to. If not, fuck it. But if you choose to follow me, remember that you backing me on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter makes me more of a voice in the community and makes me less likely to be ignored by these goddamn companies that treat me like a redhead stepchild. Do you know Asus, Republic of Gamers, and Gigabyte, Cooler Master, all these fuckers, they sit there and they have no problem supporting Twitch streamers. You know who Twitch streamers are. It's those girls who like do Twitch stuff and they have little costumes on. Yeah, because that really helps you play better at game. Dressing like a fucking half-naked anime character. I'm not against it, but the thing is, when these companies have no bones about this sort of shit, supporting these types of fucking people who offer nothing to the community other than showing their tits, it's disgusting. Especially when tit streamers are now under siege from porn stars. Yeah, porn stars are now streaming video games because it's easy money. So, yeah. How long before like fucking Republic of Gamer fucks up and then supports a fucking porn star streaming? I'll be all over them like flies on motherfucking shit, dude. Yeah. Crap. Turn this off, Smokey. It's gone too far. This is turning into my podcast.